Hello, fellow foreigners. It's Emily, it's Peter, and we're not here discovering China, we're living in it. And we thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about what that means as we're closing in on almost our 400th video. We thought maybe we'll tell you what the hell we're doing. Which, I mean, we just kind of are starting to figure it out ourselves. But we're not really, we're setting ourselves apart from everybody else. I think we have a distinctive voice. We're trying
Strange voice.
Or totally normal, depending on who you are.
Totally normal.
I think we're doing something that there's a lot of people out there that are, you're going to look up, I'm moving to China, I want to go to China. Like, there's plenty of good reasons why you want what you get out of a lot of YouTube stuff or podcasts, and it's a how-to, and we're totally not a how-to. If we do this right, at the end of every podcast, every video,
dumber.
You should be dumber. Or at least have a lot more questions than you came in with. And because we're looking for a more philosophical, a more fun way to deal with this rather than, I mean, there's lots of great people out there that have like, how to get a bank card or how to, deal with your school and we talk about some of these things sometimes, but like, I mean, we try to stay away from stuff like politics just because it's not that.
Well, to us, living in China is just like, that's where our life is. I was just thinking about this before we started. If we were still living in New York and doing something like this, we wouldn't like do a How to New York podcast. Although I'm sure someone does that.
Oh, lots of people do it. Yeah.
But
like, I think that's what 𝗖𝗵cie HDZ kind of is.
Oh, okay. And like, it doesn't mean I don't have opinions about like the dairy farmers in upstate New York don't pay enough taxes so that the MTA doesn't have enough money to run the trains on time.
Yeah.
I have those opinions about New York, but that's not what I would choose. That's not the story I would choose to tell. And same for China.
Yeah.
Those aren't the stories I particularly care about.
Yeah, that's not why we moved to China.
It's not to say you're wrong if you do care about them, but that's just not what we're
we just
about.
don't have anything to say about, like, I don't know. I mean, if there's passionately, we have something that just spills out because we can't not talk about like Trump or somebody like that. Like, but we try not to talk about that stuff because right now, what's the biggest?
Healthcare is a human right. We all know that.
The biggest story right now in China is Guangzhou and the black community being unfairly treated. I can help with that conversation. How I can support human rights.
We don't have any useful thing to say on that beyond like, hey, don't be racist.
Yeah. So there's no reason.
I don't think anyone listens to us who can affect policy change.
Right.
If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments.
Yeah. So what we tend to focus in on are what is just living, our slightly askew lifestyle, going on almost, we're starting to creep towards 10 years here now. So these everyday things. In China. Alive. I'm almost 10.
We're almost 10 years old.
That we just don't have this kind of excitement for, hey, well, I'm not interested in being a tour guide.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that there's not need for that. Because when we first moved here and when we started looking on YouTube for things, it was just 𝗖𝗵cie and like maybe a couple other people in 2010, and there wasn't any information as that. We had to look at blogs, and even a lot of those blogs were like kind of dated at that point. It was a weird fallow point of, so there wasn't really that much information. Now there's plenty of information out there, and I think it's almost too much information, and I think it's a really great time for this little tiny community of China vlogger to be more diverse.
Add some culture.
Yeah, have some culture, man.
Have some art.
Yeah. There's too few.
Have some goofs.
There's not enough of that in the world in general.
Yeah.
And now's a good time to just relax and maybe kick back and have a few laughs with Emily and Peter.
That's us.
So what do we have on the agenda today?
So today, for the first time, I went outside without my mask. I've taken my mask off outside when we were like in isolated areas, but today I actually forgot it. I was running downstairs to pick something up, and it wasn't until I was in the elevator that I was like, oh no. And it's weird, like, that it wasn't weird, you know?
In this new normal.
Yeah. Well, it is like, and in China, and myself personally, you wear a mask sometimes, even in normal times.
Yeah. You wear it for running,
pollution, or if you have a cold or whatever.
Our area is particularly in Sichuan is a really wet, and in the wintertime it's a cold wet, not a rainy wet.
Yeah.
It's just a wet dampness that just gets into your chest, and like it just feels like you're on the verge of COVID at all points.
Yeah.
Like, pneumonia is normal, so putting a mask over any other time has always been just a normal part of life.
So it's usually even in the normal times in my bag, but today I just like blanked on it, and then I was like, oh yeah, sometimes you don't have to wear a mask. Sometimes you don't have to wear a mask. Sometimes you don't live in a dystopian nightmare.
Yeah, so there you go, America.
Yeah.
There's hope for you yet.
Yeah. And a less didactic point is just like, you're gonna make habits and break habits, and that's how life works. But speaking of habits,
you're becoming a nun.
While we were quarantining, I am becoming a nun. Yeah. We made a lot more. We used to eat a lot of takeout, and then we like made all our food because there was no takeout, and now like we eat a little bit of takeout. But I did get back in the habit of using a real plate for everything, and so I know
small plate. We don't have big plates in China.
I know it makes more dishes, but I realized I really can't stand eating out of plastic containers. I'm just too good for that at this point.
I had that same problem with cups. I mean, you still are occasionally try to break out that big blue plastic cup that we have, and I'm just like, oh, it tastes terrible no matter what you put in it, especially hot water. Drinking tea out of plastic is...
Oh yeah, that's just not right.
And everything here is hot water, so it's not fun. It doesn't taste good.
Have a glass or a mug.
Yeah.
God damn it.
I think that's why they invented China.
Yeah. They're not the same words in Chinese.
Yeah, we also don't own any China in China.
Yeah. And Labor Day is coming up in China and many other parts of the world that recognize the labor movement, and so they all have chosen the same day, May 1st, to be united. Which it feels weird to say like a holiday's been coming up because I still won't be back to work by then. I think after the holiday we are going to go back to work.
They've been threatening.
Yeah, they have been threatening. But yeah, so we had some plans with someone, and in China they do this weird thing with every major holiday where to make the holiday seem longer, they will work like the Sunday before or the Saturday after so they can like stick another holiday day in the...
It's kind of like when we put like Martin Luther King Day, we're like, he seemed to be a pretty good guy, let's throw him on a Tuesday.
Yeah, except that you'd put him on a Monday, so you could have a 3-day weekend. That's the whole point, is like you're condensing.
All right, yeah. He was on a
off.
Tuesday, we'll jump him back to Monday.
Yeah, it's observed on Monday.
Thanks for everything, Martin.
Yeah. But it's I only know about it because we had plans with someone this Sunday who does have a job and does go to work, and she was like, oh, we're going to work on Sunday. And that's the first time it occurred to me, because that used to happen when we taught. I mean, it happens always. But you find out last minute, and I thought when it first happened, I thought we were finding out last minute because our school was disorganized. And no, it's just because the government doesn't make a decision until like the last possible moment.
Yeah, like when we spent our first year at least totally confused when our students would be like, yeah, so it's my birthday. You're like, what day? And they're like, I don't know. Like,
yeah,
well,
that's different. The government doesn't decide their birthdays. It's because the traditional Chinese calendar is different from the Western calendar.
But it all coincides in this weird, like, it's kind of hard some days to even know what day it is.
That we've never known what day it is. Yeah, so all you quarantine babies.
Yeah, once you throw quarantines on top of it, it's just like, I mean, even if you do have a 9-to-5, 5-day-a-week job, it's oftentimes like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but I do remember.
And that's okay.
Like when I was when I was a student in school, my favorite part of the beginning of the year was taking the school calendar and like circling all the days off. And you just can't do that here because you won't know. You won't know till it's happening.
Yeah, and yeah, it definitely. I would say. I mean, if they would don't tell us we never told you anything about living in China, but that's one of the biggest things I think a lot of people have when Westerners moving here is that
it's like impossible to make plans in the future.
And at some point you'd
Because
think you'd get used to it, but you never do.
Future.
But you never do.
Yeah.
You do like just kind of adapt with it on a daily basis of like, oh, well, I guess I'm not doing that today, so
so
that's okay.
China's made me a more confident, aggressive person and a more scattered human being. So move to China. Do you want to play our game?
What?
Yeah, that's the one. It's our fun Chinese language game where we look at some sentences from actual lessons that I have taken and try to figure out who would actually need to say these things. Our theme this day, because we do more than one a week. So today's theme, let's put it that way. Today's theme is expressing your opinion, opinionated people.
Oh.
So here's our first one.
I know a couple of those.
我觉得人是挺美的，像是风景片儿，情节都是一般。Which is, I think the scenery was quite beautiful, like a nature film. The plot, however, was just average.
Okay. So this is a person who's just come back from 𝗖𝗵cie or some other UNESCO type beautiful place.
The plot of their trip.
The plot of their trip, right?
Well, it's from a movie discussing movies.
Oh, so we really are talking about a movie. This isn't somebody being lyrical about their vacation.
Well, I mean, I like that.
Me too. That's where I went. I thought that's what we were talking about.
This is a person who wears like lots of flowing robes and looks like Julianne Moore.
Yeah. And it came back like from a Tibetan mountain with like rows of beads.
Yeah. It was like a nature film, but the plot was just average. They were very unsatisfied with their hotel and their trip manager. In mine, I would think that would be 2 stars.
Yeah, that would be a person that would be looking for some kind of like solitude, some kind of like peaceful place, so that like maybe a monk drove him in a Buick to a car to the hotel or something like that, and they were just like, oh.
They didn't appreciate the Buick. They thought they should have ridden donkeys.
Yeah, they went up to a mountain and they got like served crab rather than tofu turkey or something.
The authenticity was all off.
Like tofu turkey as if that was they're gonna recreate a bird in some kind of like monastery, because we had tofu chicken nearby up our local monastery mountain.
Yeah. It's delicious.
It's absolutely delicious, but they would let's try and do turkey.
Yeah. Yeah, so okay, I like that.
All right, but so this is actually a movie, like a book club or something.
Yeah. And people who offer their opinions, like it was so good looking. Like, oh, it wasn't that good then. If that's like where you're starting.
Oh, so we're this person's like definitely a filmioso with like, yeah, the cinematography was beautiful, but
I think so.
I guess to form a sentence like that, you need some kind of snoot in the air kind of.
I mean, like dismissing. I feel like it's a dismissal to say, oh, it was like a nature film. If this is a film with a plot, to call it a nature film, that's like, this is pretty snooty, snooty patooty.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what would be an American film that I could think of that like, I don't know, like one of those like, I don't know, something that I didn't see. What was that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where he gets eaten by a bear?
Avatar?
Yep. The Matrix.
Yeah.
Something where you're just like, oh, that was just those like long Grizzly Adams scenes of mountains, or I don't watch those kind of movies, so I don't know, because I've been to those mountains and I don't care. I wouldn't. So I did enjoy the plot.
You'd say the plot was average, and I've seen that. I've seen those views before.
Yeah, waterfalls. Psst.
Yeah.
I've been to them all.
Yeah. So yeah, this is some kind of critic of life, or specifically movies.
I like the idea that it's possibly the person who wrote it for the textbook is a struggling film critic. That is like sneaking that in there. My boss never gives me a chance to tell the world what I think about these newest releases.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got then?
Next. 我们的客厅很大.
That was a quick one.
Our living room is very large.
Well, that depends, first of all, right?
Yeah.
Depends on who you are.
So I know who I see in my mind. She's house proud. Our mom is so house proud. And she's British and stands on formalities. I don't know why she's British, but she is.
I would say that
I guess
the British tend to live in very small, tight spaces. The housing has always kind of been that way, unless you're living in, Downton Abbey or something.
I mean, it's a very specific brag if you think about it. Our living room is very large.
It is. I mean, I would consider our living room very large for us. That's.
But when you would describe our apartment to someone, would you say that
as the first
at
thing?
all?
No, I don't know. Think of any, it's on the 28th floor. We have a nice view. There's lots of sunlight. There's But we have
when you're getting down to, and our living room is very large.
Because what would you be using the living room for? I mean, if you have children and you have
Here's
chests.
where. So it's not just a brag. It is like the Airbnb listing. If you're trying to attract a clientele who wants to throw parties in your house, which is maybe not the smartest thing to offer to your B&B guests. Your Airbnb guests?
Unless you're going to break out a table and everyone's going to full dumplings on Saturday evening.
Yeah. But I mean,
this is in
I
China.
think it's a real estate brag. It's not just when people talk about their houses, that's not the thing they brag about. They're the size of their living room.
I mean, the living room is always such a strange place, especially in America, because you've got your living room kind of became your formal room pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Your living room is America's big enough where, and I'm not saying everyone in America is like this by any means. I never had lots of extra spare rooms or whatever, but there's usually a TV room in the average American house.
Right. Well, I brought up,
and that's where everyone goes, but
Brits, but I don't think Brits say living room.
Sitting room.
The sitting room, and then even in America, you could have the den, the guest room, and 客厅, the word they use is guest hall. It's more literal. So it's the place where you would receive guests. That's what's making me think it's a Regency British woman. Bring your card around if we're available.
Yes,
you can come sit in our very large living room.
And we can't stand around out here all day long. Go through to the sitting room.
Yeah.
So that's all that.
So it's
all that.
it's either someone in Regency Britain bragging, some kind of braggart. She would be the villain in a Jane Austen novel.
Because there's a lot of rooms. I mean, if you've got
or a misguided Airbnb host.
If you've got a decent amount of money in China, there are, and it's not just in houses, but it's in your businesses, it's in public buildings of having that large entry that's 3 stories high, kind of no one's. You need 3 people to come in and stand on each other to clean the cobwebs out of the ceiling, and they're wide, and there's nothing in them usually because it's an entrance hall.
Yeah.
And I've noticed the people that have big apartments, not younger people, I guess, because their stuff is a lot more Western, a lot more modern couches, but a lot of the older homes that we've been in that have that huge thing, they turn into giant playrooms because there's a lot of people living there. So it's not
it's a sign of wealth to have a big useless space, but then in this China, your kid's gonna take over every available space.
Right, it becomes a couple of couches shifted into an area, a TV a mile away, and then just this open space, not even a coffee table sometimes, just a lot of, again, these are the friends that we've had that but so it's not everyone, but what I've seen from a lot of the older families is there's a lot of people living there, and then it just becomes this big dancing playground for toddlers to mash about. It's a mosh pit for babies.
Their dances.
All their little dances.
Yeah.
You got to practice them somewhere. I mean, you're teaching them at school, so they learn their dances and they got to get home. And we've seen a lot of them in the nightly COVID quarantine,
the quarantine
videos that people send out
home.
So you can monitor their jumping.
Yeah, I've seen all their living rooms. They're all pretty big.
Yeah, or at least as big as ours, which has at least a nice runway. I mean, a lot of I mean, just like track housing in America, like there's a Chinese apartment. It looks like this. You put the couch here, you put the TV here, you've got a runway to hopefully some kind of outdoor small area to hang your clothes. So that's what we've done.
That's the only thing you can do with that space and the furniture we have.
We got our landlord's bike on there.
Yeah. What do you think should be the biggest room? Because I feel like no one ever says my living room's so big. I feel like in America, the bragging thing is like, and it has got such a big kitchen. It's an open kitchen.
Yeah, that's what everyone says.
With an island.
And I would like a big kitchen no matter what.
Yeah.
But in a fantasy world, it's the bathroom.
You want a big bathroom.
Not just because you want like a giant toilet or anything like that, which would be funny. But
or like multiple toilets.
Just hundreds of toilets all over. There's a public bathroom.
But for you.
Yeah, like a bus station. Yeah. That would be the perfect thing.
Yeah.
No, but like, so that you can, because any kind of like luxury apartment, villa, hotel that you go to, you've got the bathtub that's like on display, and you got the shower with.
If you have a big bathroom, I feel like it's so you can have a big bathtub.
But
because otherwise, what else would you put in there? A microwave?
I mean, lots of cabinet space. You want a walk-in closet because you want lots of nice thick towels, and those towels take up a lot of space. Good terry cloth, good scrunch in them. You want a nice like his and hers, or his and his, or her and her sinks. Nice big space for both people, or 3 or 4, depending on who.
Yeah, I was about to say that's very coupleist of you.
Thruples can thrive all they want in my apartment.
Yeah.
But
that would make bathroom shopping a nightmare.
Oh my God. Yeah. Then you would need the bus depot toilets.
Yeah.
But yeah, that seems to me like the biggest luxury. Because people aren't also usually, I mean, you don't invite people over to see your bathroom. If you do.
Well, because that's definitely a private space. The big living room and even the big kitchen, part of that functionality is like, I like to have people sit with me while I cook. Yeah,
so you're basically saying like, this is the one space in the world that is so big and it's absolutely for me. No one is allowed.
I'm not into entertaining. I'm into me time.
So that's the top of luxury. And if I could, now that I think about it, if I could fit a gazebo in a bathroom.
In the bathroom.
That would be.
Like on the deck outside?
Oh, well, that's even better.
Have you made this is a bathroom that's just an apartment?
Yeah, if I could have a small room inside my bathroom to go get away from it all.
Murphy bed.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that's probably none of that's going to happen. So let's move on to our next.
What? Our next one is 北京现在非常冷，你多穿点衣服. Which means Beijing right now is extremely cold. You should wear more clothes.
All right.
I feel like through education, I know a lot about the weather in Beijing without ever having been there. That's always the example.
Yeah. You see, I mean, as if Beijing is probably not hard enough. We've never been to it. We've only been to the airport. But, and I'd like to go visit someday. Yeah. I'm certainly to compare between New York City. I like to compare the big cities. And
well, then this is a good sentence for you. Beijing is extremely cold.
Yeah, and
New York is also cold.
Also very cold. So, like when you do say, like, well, it's a tough city to deal with, you're going to throw in the weather to be like, oh, in those winters. I mean, Boston is a bitch of a city, but I mean, in the wintertime,
it's very cold.
Yeah,
it's significantly cold.
Yeah, and that really kind of, I guess from a sociological point of view, paints the kind of person that lives there or thrives there or dies there or like however you exist in that situation.
So this is a hard-bitten Beijing resident just like warning you. Beijing is extremely cold.
If they were inviting you over to see their big living room in Beijing.
Well, we don't turn the heat on. No, Beijing's allowed to have heat. So we'll turn the heat on in our large living room.
Having never been up north China in the wintertime, like I really wonder like what it is inside. Is it like in our dorms or even in New York City that the heat is just always on and like it's
Then you have to open the window up to
like
cool
it
off.
seems like worse almost than air conditioning in the summertime and leaving windows open or doors open to your stores or something. Like it's all bad, but there's something crazy about like sitting at your desk in an office or on your couch and then you're just like sweating. You're like, what am I doing? You open up the window. It's...
Yeah, no, my apartment on the Upper East Side, it was a radiator heat, so I couldn't control it, so I just had to open the window.
Yeah, like I never had that until like going away to college, and because the dorms you can't trust those kids with knobs. But so that was the first time like ever away from home where you actually have a space that isn't like, you know, your
Under
parents
your
like
control.
saying that like turn it down, I have to pay for that. Like no one's paying for this. Well, your parents are still paying for it, but they don't know about how much heat is blasting out. So you open up your dorm window and you're just all hanging out, going like, it's so hot in here, we're dying. Oh, we're poor children.
But the wear more clothes thing, that is actually. It'll be, if it's in your lesson, that lesson knows what it's talking about, because people are constantly telling us to wear more clothes. And it is...
Even down here in the South. And there isn't heaters. As
a cultural thing, like, it really rubbed me the wrong way the first couple times we heard it.
Not the warm way.
Yeah. It doesn't not make me feel warm. And it would be kids too. Children would tell us, wear more clothes.
Yeah.
But it's because it's like an expression of love. Like that's a part of the Chinese culture. This is maybe changing with the younger people, but like they don't tell each other they love each other, but they do like give each other unsolicited advice about how to take care of their bodies. And that's that's expressing.
Yeah, it's so weird for like your like.
This is a repressed Beijinger
your
who
teenage,
loves you.
Your teenage students to be telling you like you should eat more and wear more coats. Like, I'm your teacher. What
I'm foreign, not an idiot.
But then they go and they tell like their friends. So you're sitting with them at lunch, and they're like, they tell their friend, and you're like, oh, that's sweet. How do these kids even get by without each other? Like,
Well, you need to just be ordered around for everything.
Right.
No, it's an expression of care. So yeah, this is a hard-bitten Beijinger living through the cold.
Right.
Who cares for you deeply, but will never say it.
Yeah. I mean.
Oh, I want to watch this.
Yeah,
movie.
I don't know much about the Beijingers of like what. I mean, I kind of imagine like a New Yorker gruffness about any kind of city folk in general.
Yeah.
But New York does have that grit of like, maybe not right now, but but that like we'll take care of each other.
Yeah. Well, taking care of each other just from inside. Stay inside.
Yeah, the ones that are staying inside.
Yeah.
The ones that are wandering
around.
Wear
more clothes, stay inside.
Yeah, that's exactly what New York and America needs right now. A whole bunch of Chinese children students telling them, "God damn it, get back inside and put your mask in your coat."
Yeah, that's the new. I cannot say I love you, so I only stay inside.
Yeah, we're also not advocating that like every country and every household gets their own Chinese child. That doesn't sound right either. So. Strike that.
I want to know the sign-up process for that on both ends. I would like to be your Chinese child. Please.
It could be a nice program if anyone.
I heard you eat hamburgers.
Both the UN and the CCP just cut that whole part out. We weren't able to air what we were talking about, the rest of that information.
It's censorship of our very legitimate exchange program. They don't want you to know
Don't even
about
talk about it anymore. We need to move on to the next subject.
Let's move on.
I hear helicopters.
他很热心地帮助我, which is he very enthusiastically helped me.
Okay.
Here's the scenario I see. We're at a shoe store, and a woman or a man, a customer has made their purchase, and before they leave, the manager pulls them aside. How did he do? Was he thorough? We're keeping an eye on him. He's a new hire. And she says, well, he very enthusiastically helped me. I feel like this is a praise without praise kind of thing. Like she wants to say something nice. Maybe the clerk brought her out the wrong pair of shoes 5 times. never found the right size, and she actually had to go in the back herself and get the right shoes. But he was just so nice about it. She's not going to say anything that would get him fired.
So she's gracious and understanding, and
yeah.
she doesn't really want a hard time, and perhaps maybe if this is a small town.
Yeah, that's
maybe,
another, like, no one ever wants to be like, well, they really could have done better.
And maybe she knows, like, the family, too, so...
Yeah.
You don't want to get him fired because Edith will, like, be upset with you. She'll be like, you're the one who got him fired? Well, that kid is a shit anyways. This could start a whole thing all around town.
And maybe the manager's like a hard ass. Like, he's just looking for one little screw up to fire.
I've been looking. Derek has been a pain in my side since day one.
Yeah. I'm not going to be the one who I like Derek. He's very enthusiastic.
He cuts my grass.
Yeah. Enthusiastically. I have to go back and fix it afterwards.
Yeah, he's not that bright is the problem.
Poor Derek.
Oh, we painted a bad picture for Derek.
Well,
but no one really...
there are people like that.
Yeah, but no one wishes him ill.
Yeah, because he's so enthusiastic.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I'll go back and do it afterwards correctly.
Yeah, but he's just like, he's nice to have in your life, so you tolerate it. You clean up his messes afterwards.
Right. You're going to have to get him, you're going to have to pull a few strings to get him into college.
Yeah.
You're going to have to, like, probably, he's going to live at home for a little while afterwards.
He's maybe going to work for Dad's company.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Dad.
Yeah.
How did
maybe this is Dad's company. He's at the shoe store.
We started him off in accounting, and he was just messing too much stuff up. Now he's the shoe clerk.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like that's the positive take on it is you're trying to... It's really not that positive a take. You're trying to, like... Because I feel in service situations, I worked in retail. It sucks.
Yeah.
I never, ever, unless you've done something terribly egregious, I would never, ever give feedback that was anything less than positive. Even if it had to be like, oh, he was very enthusiastic.
But I've seen lots of people, though, that wanted to come up with all kinds of... I mean, I've worked in a bunch of retail shops.
Oh, yeah, there's complainers out there. I'm just saying, for me, I would never complain about service I got unless it was, like, actively hostile.
That's one of the only reasons why I ever, I don't know, tolerated. You have to tolerate tipping in America because it's there.
Yeah.
The only times that it ever made me think that, like, well, this isn't such a bad system is if somebody's like a complete dick and you're just like, you walk out. And if they're like, hey, what about my tip? You're like, well, you're an ass.
Yeah.
But like
it's very Larry David.
Yeah, like pretty assy. But why? Yeah, I don't like to be in those situations. So like, even if like it was just kind of average, you know, the fries were cold or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I probably chose a shitty restaurant anyways to be in, so it's my fault for going there.
I feel like
I don't expect much out of anybody. Is the thing.
Economies of management versus the ground level employees, like a small thing can like mean someone gets fired, and I don't want to be that person. I want everyone to have their job.
Yeah.
Unless I said like they're actively hostile to me,
and
then like I'm not gonna complain because I'm scared.
There's one guy I can think of that I don't want to have a job.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about politics.
He doesn't really have a job.
Or if he was a shoe still, he's the original Derek.
Yeah, I guess that tactic of mollification can have disastrous results.
Yeah, so maybe he should have got fired.
Maybe we shouldn't use this phrase.
Yeah, whoever this person is, they should have complained and got him fired.
They should have said a real critique. Because the other thing is, like, enthusiastic service also sounds like it could be creepy.
Could be.
Well, he was really enthusiastic.
Or just annoying. Like, there's definitely...
Yeah,
I've had coworkers that I've seen, like, anytime I ever went to help somebody, I would, like, get in there, get it over with, and you get out and you're like, well, if you need any more help, let me know. But like a car salesman, like somebody that's making a big sale is going to hang out a lot. But like if you're buying socks and somebody's like, so how's your feet?
Yeah.
Could you move along, please, sir?
If you've broken down on the side of the road and you need to change your tire and someone stops to help you and they're like, oh boy! Like,
yeah.
Okay, I just need to get where I'm going. Can we do this without the enthusiasm, please?
Right. I've been waiting to change a tire since I took that tire changing class.
Yeah, I've been waiting to get my cup of coffee, so let's go. Let's go here. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you with that. Just don't be an ass in a store, and be nice to people, and don't vote for terrible people. Don't vote for Derek.
If the thing that comes up is enthusiasm, you've taken a wrong turn.
I guess Trump's never really had any enthusiasm about anything except for just
himself.
being a jerk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But let's go on to the last one.
Okay.
你能不能不要这么老套，多一点儿创意 which is, can you not be so cliche and be a little more creative?
Oh, see, now I like that.
This, to me, speaks of ad agency. I feel like
that's
how people talk to each other in an ad agency.
We're looking for something a little more out of the box.
Yeah.
Something a little push in an envelope, maybe.
This is a table full of sycophants. Well, it's a table full of sycophants because that's who you hired.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's really...
Because in a real creative situation, sorry, advertisers, that's not how you speak to someone to get their best work out of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a...
Could you not be so cliche?
It's a namby-pamby speak. Like,
yeah.
You get more respect out of a situation of like, well, that idea's shit.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks. I mean, you know.
Well, you painted this very enthusiastically, but could you not be so cliche?
Right. Of course, if you go that idea is shit. These days, you're going to end up with like, well, I'm going to call HR now, so.
Well, I don't respond well to that kind of criticism, I would say.
Yeah, me neither. So, to be fair, either way sucks.
Yeah. But that's what makes me think ad agency.
Yeah, it's that you probably hired people that have this kind of situation embedded in them of like, okay.
And no one's heart is really in what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's not like, I made this with all my love and not for money. I made this. What do you think of it?
But I worry about that though, because I think a lot of advertising, just like influencers and like real shills that will just, they have to love what they do to some extent. Even if they just love the thrill of the shill, the thrill of actually just making a deal and pawning off some garbage.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of those people do believe, like these Taco Bell executives or something, like, this is the Chalupa 3.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm really behind that 3. That really pushed things to another level.
When I worked at the paper and like PRs would send me releases all the time, like, yeah, I think they were like, this new... I can't even think of a product. This new product is a thing. Yeah. And like they would have had to think that
we have to sell a thing.
Yeah.
And the thing about this, it's like, it's stick a poochie on there or some kind of like fancy neon glowing double cheese extra.
It was a little
sneaker.
more understandable for me personally of like the PRs who worked in music or like who worked for the museums that I worked with, because it was like they said, and I would believe them, that they wouldn't take on a client that they didn't actually like themselves. Or like if you work for a museum, you're not going to like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, get out of here.
Yeah, museum people are a little bit better at it.
It's a little separate, but it's still, they'd still have to use like marketing speak.
But I do feel those people that I have come in contact with, it is a little more heartbreaking to see them like have to sell like, we're having a banquet because like the museum isn't actually like doing that well, so we're gonna have to like, we have some kind of like,
there's no funding for the arts.
Voting registration or something like that's gonna be held on the 3rd floor. Yeah. So, but that's gonna bring in like a lot of sandwich money or
museums after that sandwich money.
That's a little depressing. But when you look at like music stuff with like record companies and stuff, the crap that they ply out to get not even just Britney Spears or whoever, but
here's the next Bob Dylan. Oh, really?
Yeah.
You think so?
Is it really?
I don't think so. But you do think so.
Yeah.
Could you be a little more creative, please?
Yeah.
Well, on that note, noodles to you.